Welcome to ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy, and this is all of the Easter eggs, references, and little things that you might have missed in the trailer for Shang Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. First, let me give a very brief primer on who Shang Chi is. Marvel created him during the kung fu craze of the 1970s.
Everybody was kung fu fighting!
Now, he was the son of a villain called Fu Manchu. This villain is actually a racist, yellow peril stereotype with his origins in the 1930s pulps. So, in the movie, Shang-Chi's father is now the Mandarin. Not that Mandarin, this guy, that one. We'll talk about the Mandarin's connection to Iron Man 3 a little later in the video. Now, in the comic, Shang-Chi was raised to be his father's right-hand man. He didn't actually know that his dad was evil until years later. Then he turns on him and he becomes a hero. And it looks like we're seeing a similar story unfold in the movie, although with ancient battles and giant dogs and cage fights added in. Now check out this opening shot. The back wall looks like it's made of paper doors. The center of each door is 2 interlocking rings. 5 doors makes 10 rings, the name of the Mandarin's criminal organization that I will fully explain later in the video. This opening scene shows Shang-Chi revisiting the place of his childhood training, and it makes my knuckles hurt just looking at it. In the movie, the Mandarin raised Shang-Chi to be his heir, then let him do a walkabout for a decade, presumably where he learned to be a good guy and not just a living weapon. We see here that he's living a very humble life in a garage, a far cry from this palace where he was raised. And right here, there's also a poster for the film Kung Fu Hustle. The song they're singing in karaoke is A Whole New World from Aladdin, which, yes, speaks to the corporate synergy of Disney owning both properties. But also, Shang-Chi is in a whole new world in the USA, and later he escorts Awkwafina into this strange new epic life where he was raised. As we see in this trailer, Shang-Chi's fun, ordinary life is interrupted when his father sends goons to collect him. Now this shirt he's wearing, the Silmar Eagles, is a real elementary school in California, although they're based in Los Angeles and the movie takes place in San Francisco. In this flashback, we see him being trained by the villain Death Dealer, who also pops up in the present day. I also like this poster on the wall of the human body, showing the pressure points so Shang-Chi can learn how to cause the most pain.
You walked in my shadow.
Now in this shot, we see a young Shang-Chi getting shown the ropes by the Mandarin, his father. Now notice that he's wearing 10 bracelets on his arm. These are the titular 10 rings. In the comics, the Mandarin's rings each have a different superpower, ice, fire, etc. In the trailer, we even see him using them to manipulate water. But it also seems like they grant him strength and immortality. Notice this shot of him smashing up a table. Now, the 10 rings are not only a magic artifact. In the MCU, they're a criminal organization that controls, well, basically everything. But more on them in a minute, I promise. Now, we also see him arrive at some kind of cage fighting club with his friends. This is also where he encounters this villain, Razor Fist. Razor Fist. In the comics, he's an assassin who decides to go and make it impossible to ever go to the bathroom by giving himself sword hands. Sword hands, great band name, I call it. Also, in this cage fight, one of the wall paintings seems inspired by the shield of Captain America. And the character inside this wall art is a deep-cut MCU Easter egg to your mom. This is also where Shang-Chi fights his sister, Zhang Li. Now, this story might unfold like the parable of the prodigal son, where he's the one who goes off to live in the world, she stays behind to serve her father, but he still wants his prodigal son to inherit the kingdom. Sexism.
I gave you 10 years to live your life, and where did that get you?
Elsewhere in the trailer, we see Razor Fist fighting Shang-Chi on a bus, so it seems like the Mandarin sends his cronies to bring his son back, and they succeed.
I trained you. So the most dangerous people in the world couldn't kill you.
Now we see a helicopter landing on a 10 rings landing pad, and we see that Shang-Chi and Awkwafina have both arrived in China, which is pretty great. She's hilarious, and she'll be the Darcy character, commenting on all these weird, messed up events as they happen.
Look at you! So muscly and everything. How's space?
Now then we get this shot of the Mandarin. There's actually lots to unpack here. First of all, you'll recognize the banner behind him from Iron Man and Iron Man 3. This is the logo of the 10 rings. And the Mandarin is dressed in ancient garb. Now this, along with this large battle that we see later in the trailer, is hinting that the rings give him long life, or maybe even immortality. We even see the rings on his arm in that ancient battle here. So the Mandarin is being presented like he's the immortal Batman villain Ra's al Ghul.
I am he who is called Ra's al Ghul.
This ancient battle looks like it's going to be amazing. These big creatures are called food dogs. In Buddhist mythology, these are ancient guardians who protect the sacred sites of ancestors from defilement. And maybe all of this is hinting to an appearance by the giant dragon villain Fin Fang Foom. In the comics, this ancient dragon is actually an alien being who was buried for thousands of years. Now, the Mandarin's rings actually come from the same ship that brought Fin Fang Foom to Earth. When the Mandarin gets the rings, it also woke the dragon from his slumber. So I think that in the movie, the ring's true power will be to awaken and control this dragon. There's even wall art of a dragon right here that could be a small hint about the appearance of Fin Fang Foom. This would explain how the Ten Rings organization became so powerful. The Mandarin has been around for centuries, building a secret criminal empire. So you'll remember that Tony Stark was originally kidnapped by the Ten Rings. This is their logo here. Then later, in Iron Man 3, Aldrich Killian hires Trevor Slattery to pretend to be the Mandarin, a figurehead in charge of what he believed was a fictional organization.
I'll have the West's most powerful leader in one hand, and the world's most feared terrorist in the other. I'll own the war on terror.
But then, in the short film All Hail the King, it was revealed that there is a real Mandarin, and he was mad at Trevor for mocking him.
I'm talking about the Ten Rings.
Come again?
The terrorist group, historically associated with the Mandarin.
So for several years, we've had this setup that there is a real Mandarin, the shadowy big bad who would later threaten the MCU.
I don't know the history of the Mandarin himself. He was a warrior king. Inspired generations of men through the Middle Ages, perhaps even further back in time.
Basically, fans hated the Slattery reveal so much that Marvel retconned it and are giving us an actual badass Mandarin villain. And how about this bus fight? Showtime! By the way, does this guy on the bus look familiar?
Okay, Spider-Man! Don't flip! Yeah!
The bus goes past Ghirardelli Square, which is in San Francisco. You might be wondering, if this movie takes place in San Francisco, then why doesn't Ant-Man and or the Wasp pitch in to help out? Well, there's actually rumors that the movie takes place during the blip, which would be interesting to see. Falcon and the Winter Soldier is exploring how the blip actually made the world a better place, and it would be great to see those effects firsthand. Now, I want to give a special thanks to Emmeline Tan 2002 on Twitter, who just gave me a ton of observations and Easter eggs on my Twitter feed. You should check out the whole thing if you have time. She points out that Shang actually means on top, upon, above, upper, or previous first. In other words, to climb, to get onto, or to attend. And Chi, in traditional Chinese culture, was believed to be a vital force forming part of any living entity. So in English, Shang Chi means to level up your life or to power up your life force. She also points out that Shang Chi symbolizes the Asian immigrant who left his native country because he didn't like the leaders and rigid way of life. So he left his rich heritage and culture to work as a second-class minority in the USA who struggles with his identity. Let me know what you thought of the trailer. Did you like the original Slattery reveal? Let me know in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.